Greetings, everyone. Tommy Hawksblood calling from the Big Island of Hawaii. We have a lot to talk about today, but say hello to my co-host Tina. Greetings, Tina.
Hello, Tommy, and hello, everyone in Hawaii, the US, and anyone else across the YouTube channels and anywhere else that's watching this. I'm Tina Bird here in the UK, and tonight on Encounters, I'm with Tommy Hawksblood, who's broadcasting from Hawaii, and we are going to be talking about closure to the truth and about aliens. But I'll hand it back to Tommy to start the show. Tommy.
All right, we got so many things to get into, but I want to start off. Uh, Tina and I agree on many things. A few things we don't, but nobody could agree on everything. I mean, she has her certain experiences that she went through. I have mine. But we talk from experience and truth. We don't tell stories, and we're not promoting everybody else's story. What all the things that Tina went through in her life, all the things I went through in my life. So we're not like 99% of the UFO world out there speaking about what they think. Who cares what anybody thinks? It's about what's really happening, what really can come out. Now, all I know, Mr. Stephen Greer is talking over and over for the past, since 96, 97, about disclosure. Disclosure happened. Tina said that 1,000 times already. It happened. What she expected? That him to come out and say to him that it's real? Or who does it have to come out to for it to become really disclosure? The whole world? That would be a serious problem because most of the people on this planet aren't worried about UFOs. They're worried about getting their next meal. So, people, I'm going to go into a lot of different things about a lot of different people. Sorry if this hurts your feelings, makes you feel bad. This is truth. We only deal with the truth. We're not going to make stories up. We're not trying to make you feel good, and we're not taking your money like 90% of the other people out there in the UFO world, and what you go and spend to go home with what? What knowledge do you take home? Now, I do show on spiritualism as well, and that's a little bit different than here. But what you want, you can get it from Tina and I. And I'm telling you, we're not liars. We tell you what can help you, what can benefit you, and what won't. And aliens are not the people that are going to help save us either. We'll get into that. But there's questions. Any questions, please put them in the chat room. If you have anything important to say and have real facts or proof about who and what you are, please come on. I do not promote people that I don't know, and I don't trust what they're saying. Sadly, I brought one multi-millionaire on who talked up a great story, which I disagree with everything he said, especially what he's doing. Now we got people like Musk and Gates and all those people doing their own thing, but they're changing our reality, whether we want it or not. So when you add aliens into that, nobody's talking about that part of it, which we do. So people, please, if you got questions, put them in the chat room anytime. We'll accept questions. Please, no jokes. This isn't a comedy show. If you want a comedy show, go on comedy and type it and pull up the shows on comedy. But I'll give it back to Tina.
Yeah, Tommy's right. So, are we really coming closer to the truth about aliens and disclosure and things like that? It depends what angle. Again, so many people, oh, they call conspiracy theorists. We're supposed to be conspiracy theorists. We're just there are certain people that are conspiracy theorists, and abductees aren't conspiracy theorists. They are a group of people that something has happened to. They've been traumatized in some way. So there is a difference between being an abductee and being a conspiracy theorist. But it does chuck open so many other questions, which I can see why people think that. Now, just looking in the chat room quickly, I just caught my eye. Hello, John. I've seen you in the chat room. And Whitley Schreiber, I have actually met him. I'll show you a picture of me and him in a minute. I met him last year. Very nice chap. And yeah, they did the film The Communion about him. Very polite to talk to. Very, yeah, 100%. I've read his book, seen the film, and I met the person, the gentleman in question. So, yeah, I think you've got a genuine person there. Now, truth about aliens, I get asked so many things about aliens and things like that. You know, what I can tell you is, apart from my experience, which you probably heard many times on here, I recently got invited to one of the only UK abductees support meetings that I went to in Birmingham. So we're going to try and do more online. It's a real long drive for me, and because I live the other end of the country. But I managed to make it up there, and I can't disclose the lady's name because it's a private and confidential meeting with other abductees there. So some people have come out and told public, some people haven't. And I could see people there were genuinely traumatized and genuinely shocked. But I think once you tell somebody and get it out, the truth comes out, and you feel better and you feel relieved. Then you've got a period of adjustment. And then that's when you ask the questions and the conspiracy theorists and things like that. And some things are just too hard to talk about. There was a Pacific lady that I did make, I felt a lot of gravity towards. And we was talking, everyone had a different opportunity to talk at different times if they wanted to. And I was answering the questions somebody had asked. And then it went on to the black pods, about the pictures I'd drawn about these black pods that had babies in them and blah, blah, blah. And I drew it many years ago. And then David Hodgson asked me to draw it in 2016, 2017 for my abduction investigation. And now this lady looked genuinely shocked and horrified. And she just looked at me. And I thought, I know that stare. And she said to the group, she actually came out and said something. She was talking about another member of her family before that. And she said, that's happened to me and I've seen those pods. So I didn't see what was inside them because they look like, in the 1970s, they had coffee cups like this, but they were more black, more darker, like a darker brown. When they had coffee or tea in, they looked like black shiny metal, black shiny glass. Like a smoky colour, and that's what these pods look like, but they look like real black in colour. And she described them exactly as I described them, and we put a picture up on the wall thing, you know, of one of the video things, and they showed all the images. She's, yes, that's what I saw, that's what I saw. So, which is very well done. So I want to say chuffed, I'm not sure if that's the right word. But I could see relief in this poor lady's eyes, the same as I felt, that somebody else not only believed you, but actually shared the same type of experience of you. She saw these things that I had seen. I know I'm not the only one. We aren't the only ones. I've seen hundreds of people up there. Just in one experience, I've seen hundreds of people up there. So we know we're not the only ones. When people say, oh, what's so special about you? Absolutely nothing. I'm just a member of the public. I'm just an everyday person. But it's not until you come forward, or you have the guts to come forward and a reason to come forward for help, support, or whatever, and understanding, you know, it kind of gets you. And it's not until you see somebody else and you listen to the accounts. But this lady had actually seen the same thing I had. She'd seen these pods. She hadn't been as close to them to me. She described them in every detail. We put and I drew these pods in individual pictures. She described them to a team. When we put them up on the screen, she said that's what I saw. So her testimony and her account backs mine up now. Before I just thought I was the only one. Since this lady's come forward, it's backed up my. I've never met the lady. Lives in a different part of the country. She's not on Facebook. She's not on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. I'm not sure if she's my age or a bit older than me. Yeah, really interesting. But so there are truths. So and she was of the same. She the same thought along the same lines as me. But to find another abductee at last that has seen what I have, the exact same thing that I have seen, is amazing, and it's. Doesn't validate me. I don't need validating because I've just told you what's happened, and it's same things happened to her and thousands of other people. But to have someone at last stand up, put their hand up, say that's happened to me, and that's what I saw, Tommy.
You know, when somebody confirms what you experience or know, it's a great feeling because then you say, hey, it's a little more real. I mean, if you have witnesses and people with you when it happens, it's a different story. But when you're all alone and something happens, you got a lot of things going on like fear and worry and don't know what's going to happen. So when somebody confirms it in detail and they could say something like, you didn't say it, and they'll tell you what happened, and you say, that's right, that's exactly what I saw, it makes it real. And that's all that matters to the people that are going through it. Because, you know, I deal with a lot of people, and a good friend of mine deals with doctors and lawyers, and they have private meetings twice a year as well. And then you listen to what they feel afterwards and what they got out of it. Some people think they're super spiritual and write books. Some people think they're psychic and their psychic abilities got better. Some people feel that they drain their energy. So there's a lot of different things people go through after it happens.
Can I
So
just say something? Tommy's actually this was another thing that was brought up at the meeting. They said psychic ability and listening or having premonitions and things like that. And the group were just chatting about it, and the investigators, there's a couple of investigators there, just wanted to get a census from a feel when they was asking abductees questions. And they said, what do you think about telepathy, foresight, and what Tommy's just described? And we came to the conclusions. They asked us to draw our own conclusions. And a lot of us, I think all of us, because we put our hands up, said that we felt that this was a side effect of being abducted, being highly psychic or foreseeing the future or whatever it is, foresight, whatever it is. We think it's a side effect of being abducted. Tell me.
well, you know, and I'm going to give you my suggestions on that. Uh, we're not this body. We're not this mind. And when you get abducted, aliens are playing with your body and your mind. So soul gets a chance to release truth into the body. And soul is incredibly psychic in this reality. It's got a lot of different abilities which it doesn't use because the mind doesn't allow it to. But once it gets exposed to something that it's not aware of, it opens it up much more to greater things. So I think soul has a better chance of speaking through the body and giving us what it's aware of rather than not. But I'm not saying people don't make up stories or just want to be spiritual because they met an alien. I mean, it affects people so many different ways. And it's not like many people, compared to the number of people on the planet, will go through that experience. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. What percentage of people really get abducted and remember it? I work with people for years that have missing time and didn't remember a thing that happened.
Mm.
And that's another thing. How many people get abducted and don't even know it? So when something breaks out or something, I feel that, or I know that, or I sense that. It's because it is there. I mean, I worked with hypnosis for years. I pulled out of it. I just didn't want to be in that space for a long time. But I know Tina's planning on doing it. I wish I could be there when she does, because, you know, it does so many different things that they don't talk about, like hypnotizing the things around the person. I mean, if an ET has a chip on them that monitors them and stuff, it could do things to that as well. But there's a lot of things to shut them down so they can't do that. I did psychic implant removals for a couple of years from, I think I was 26 to I was about 29. But even then, it became a chore, and I just felt I can't help the world that great. I mean, people that come to me and I work with, I'll deal with, but I want to go out into the world and try to catch people and say, well, you might have been abducted. Let's find out. Uh, it's people that have some kind of block or feelings that they can't understand. I mean, I'd rather work with those kind of people because once they get the help, they can move forward greatly. So, Tina, do you want to go into what happened to you a little bit or no? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it did, but one part. There's so much of it.
this is one part of it. No, what I'm saying is just so people see that your real experience. You're not talking about somebody else. You're not talking Joe Schmo down the block and what he went through.
Yeah. Okay. So people just think abduction is where they take you. Abduction is when another species tries to communicate, sends a message, or gets close enough to touch. That is communication. Abduction is being taken against your will. Now, we had the same conversation at the support meeting, and a lot of people that said that it is spiritual and things like that. You got to respect that, respect everybody's wishes and that. But I pointed out the fact that these abductions happened when they were younger, therefore they couldn't give consent. So what type of malevolent being would come into your world unimpeded, uninvited, into your home under the guise of night and take innocent children when they're at their most vulnerable? So that's just something to think about. If they're truly nice and spiritual, they wouldn't be doing that. No. So there's that. So it's not till an abductees, when these things happen when they're younger, the trauma of it lasts you a lifetime. It comes and goes throughout your life. It's not something that can stay with you. But if you're unfortunate enough to remember, like I am, it can do, and it does affect your life. So there's loads of, it's not just coming out with your account. It's all the other things. People say, yeah, hi, I've been abducted, and they were nice and they spoke to me, and that may have been so, and we're probably beings that I've never met before. But in my case, how profoundly affected me is being taken as a child and repeatedly taken, not given the opportunity to say, no, you can't talk, you can't move, you're paralyzed. I don't know how these people are having conversations, getting into it with them. Yes, there's telepathy and things like that, but you are you're unable to move, you know. So once you get around that fact, if you have a one-off, if you're having a one-off experience, it may be different. You may view it differently, or what you remembered. A lot of people don't remember the horror of being abducted. They all think it's brightness and light and it's something special. It's not. So just imagine yourself now, 40-year-old or even a 50-year-old, someone my age. You go to sleep as normal. You go to bed. You don't expect anything to happen to you. You've had a good day, or you've been out in the garden, or you watched a bit of telly and you've gone to bed. You shut your eyes as normal and go to sleep. Next thing you know, you either wake up, and I'll not say 9 times out of 10, most of the time when this has happened to me, it's been out of the blue. It could be years apart, and then many years apart. And you could have a little run on it a couple of nights. And so you're there, you're alone, and gone to bed, or you're with your partner, gone to bed as normal, nothing out of the blue. All of a sudden, I get this feeling, and I wake up like really alert, like, you know, something's happened, or you don't know what it is. So you get up, you check your home for intruders, you something's not right, you're on high alert. You check your home, check your windows, check your doors. When you're happy, you go back to bed, you listen for a little while, and you drop off back to sleep. Next thing you know, you'll wake up, you're on a metal table. Now, it's not that you've gone to sleep literally, you open your eyes. That's something you do when you wake up. So perhaps wake up's the wrong word. You open your eyes, and you're there, or you sit up on this, people call it a bed. It's not a bed, it's more like a metal bench. That's all I can describe it. And because you're sedated and if you're numb, you can't feel if it's hot or cold, or if you're high or low. Because somebody said, how do you know they're small people? Well, it's not until you see them stood next to your bed, and they're no taller than the end of your bedpost, that you know. So when they're leaning over you, you can't be more than a foot or two off the floor, so you wouldn't see them. Because somebody said, well, how tall are these beds? I said, well, I don't know how these metal benches are. But given time to think about, well, if they're like only 3 feet tall, and you know my size of my bed, and there's nothing under my bed, and you're trying to work out the height, because people want to like, oh, it's 3 foot 2 inches. You don't know. It's roughly the size at the end of my bedpost. That's the little white ones. I don't know why they call them rays. I think it's the light they see me. It's just things like that. So the human brain is observant. It's like a film. When you're taken, you're laid there, and it's like a film. You can't stop it. You can't pause it. You can't speak. You can't interrupt it. You're just watching this stuff happen to you. Totally incapacitated. So that's what happened to me. Went to bed, woke up on this table, was sat up, and this bright orange light was above me, just slightly to the left. Huge like ball, glowing amber orange light. And it came over me, and I tried to look down. I tried to flick my eye. I couldn't do it. I was only looking forward. I can only see forward. So as I was set up like a 30 or 40 degree angle, I could just see down my body. And then this black grid appeared, so I couldn't look back up. I could just see the orange light, and this black grid appeared over my legs. like they'd put in something over a light, and it was like a grid on my legs. And all of a sudden, I presume it was a laser. I don't know nothing about lasers, and I was only a kid at the time. Twice it's happened to me, as a kid and as an adult. And these things came down. I can only liken it to, you know, the old-fashioned jellies. You get square jelly block, and you get a match, and you get a lit match, and you put it into the jelly. That's exactly what it looked like it was doing. It looked like the light was on there, and you could see this. It was like looked like it's burning holes in my skin. Couldn't feel anything. Didn't feel nothing at all. Obviously didn't want that, thinking it's going to hurt. It's hurting, but it wasn't. Couldn't really think. That's another thing. People say, "Why don't you talk? Why don't you think?" You can't, because you're frozen. So your brain's not working properly, and all you can do really is look and record. And they're burning different types and different holes in my legs, and I'm not sure if it got too intense or up my legs or down my legs or what. And I'm not sure if I passed out or they put me back out and they realised I was awake. And it wasn't until about 15, 20 years later I was having a flashback as an adult. They'd taken me again, and I realised, like, I remember looking down my legs as a kid. I had little skinny legs, like I was a little, like 6, 7-year-old. And yeah, I remembered that. And then they were doing the same thing that I was, as they did as an adult. So I'm not sure if they were testing whatever they did when I was a child to now. But also, an interesting, just change the subject quickly. Again, at this meeting I went to, this lady who had experiences like me also had the same marks, incredibly, on her body, on her legs, and what she described, how they appeared, is what happened to me, and that's documented in my case file. So I was absolutely gobsmacked. Not only did she saw what she'd seen what I'd seen, she'd experienced the same thing, and she had the same body markings. Incredible, unbelievable. So there are more people. We're not the only ones. So you can suffer flashbacks. So that is trauma. So that's just like a mild one. So people, I don't know where they're doing these things. They're taking you from your home. They took me from my home. They took me somewhere. I looked like maybe on board a craft. It could have been a bunker. I don't know. All I can tell you and describe to you is what I've seen. Unfortunately, that's all I can do. So that was like 1 or 2 episodes. The one of the scariest ones was like it was again the Black Pod one. I'd never been allowed to get up or walk around the ship before. I hadn't remembered it. If I had, and I had agreed to behave. And these things that are small, you could reach out and grab one quite easily and overcome them within seconds. But they're quick, and I think that's why they keep us sedated. And they use a pheromone hormone and a frequency of light together to subdue us. But I could taste they did something to me when I agreed to behave. Next thing I know, I'd shut my eyes. When I woke up, I was stood up. But I felt drugged and under control. That they were controlling me somehow from behind. But I could feel this bitterness, this taste in my chest, like a bitter taste in my chest. And I felt drugged looking forward. I couldn't quite lift my head up. And it wasn't until I'd taken a couple of paces at a time, and I was like walking extremely slowly, that when I got to these pods, I saw these pods, and this thing came out. It didn't want me there. It definitely saw me as a threat. It was ordered to stand back. When I got to this pods, again, if you read my account, it tells you about what happened then. But what happened after that was they showed me, I think if you're upset in any way, or there's something they don't like, I don't think they control you. Whatever they do doesn't work on me properly. So they tried to distract me. That's something I've learned. They use distraction. So I think I was well into being distracted about how they reuse their energy, and he showed me a picture in my head. But I was yanked back to this table within seconds. They wanted to get on with whatever next, and I was like a dog on a lead, and it was over more ways than one if I didn't cooperate. Next thing I know, I was told that I wouldn't be allowed to move to the next thing, and so on. So they brought me. It's really difficult. So they brought this baby up, and it's well, I didn't realise it was a baby at the time. It was just singing rags, and I didn't realise it was holding a baby like that. It didn't want to be near me, and it pulled this rag back, and it was a clone, identical, a clone to me. It was me. It was just me. The hair wasn't quite right, and she was really pink. Her eyes were them. The rest of it was me, and yeah, wasn't expecting that. Didn't, you know, you don't expect things like that. So that's something else completely to deal with. And again, that's a huge emotional human thing. Not something I think they think about. They need the bond. I was told they needed the bond. I wish my book's called The Bonding when I can get it out. So they need these babies, these clones, to have a bond, to know where they come from. So that was quite deeply traumatic and upsetting, and I didn't really bond with her. They took it off. They never told me what was going to happen to her. And they never seemed to answer questions specific questions. So that didn't kind of happen. And they read questionings in different ways, interpret either like feelings as questions, or I'm not quite sure how they work at their end, but to me that's what it looks like. They didn't say that's what happened. To me that's what it looks like. But another time was the same. Well, the next day they took me in this other room, in this other space, and now I've never got a fear from them, never. I've always sensed that they had mouths, and you can kind of sense their intent sometimes. And each ship, or where location they take you, has a different frequency, like a different internet, if you like. I call it the link, the grey link. So only because it's like a grey mist in your head. That's why I call it grey, not because they're grey. They're like kind of white. Yeah. And slightly different, and you can have a one-to-one connection, or they can block you from listening, seeing, I call it, but they can hear you listening, if that makes sense. Anyway, so but I observed their behaviour. They put me on this really long bench. I've never seen one quite so long, and didn't realise what was going to happen. He's like, you will not be allowed to move. You will not be allowed to like sit up. You're on your own, type of thing. And it was definitely experiment, definitely to see. It was for their benefit, nothing was to my benefit whatsoever. I did rag on. I was red in the face. I looked like I'd been pulled through a hedge backwards. I was sedated. I was on this bench. Now I wasn't completely laying down. I was slightly up, I think. And I saw at least 8 to 10 of them huddled together. Now that was a show of fear. There was it was like it's like watching kids. If they were frightened of something, they'd all huddle together, but they wouldn't. It was like a display of fear, but they weren't frightened. They didn't want to be in that room, and they did not want to be near this thing that was coming towards me. That was a clear message. No two ways about that. They did not want to be there. And this thing, like a giant cross between an octopus, a giraffe's neck, and an aphid or a snake, I don't know. It was like and I work at zoo. I've never seen anything like that. It swung its neck round, and it came up over my body. I thought it was going to die. I thought it was going to eat me. I thought I was going to die. It came up over my stomach and stopped, and I thought, that's it. I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. I couldn't even move my eyes, and I couldn't tremble. I just thought, that's it. I'm going to die. And that was kind of, I couldn't think anything else. And it was like what I was giving off was that I was frightened I was going to die. This thing come up and looked at me. Now, when they do that, when they look over your head and they're like that, it's because they want to link. But this thing did not want to link. It didn't want. I got the feeling it wanted to see me with its own 2 eyes. It was so close to my face. And I could see lenses under its eyes. It had like a triangle. Its face went up. Its face was as big as my body. So this face is like this over me. And it came down. Its eyes were like bigger than my hands, like that. And you could see like like a black, it looked like black eyes, but they weren't. And then you could see like a brown lens or a lens underneath them. And it just wanted to see me. It's so nice. And it pulled away, it all went bright white, and that was it. So there's a couple of different experiences. But it wasn't, people say, oh, it's positive, they're nice, they're here to do good. But basically when you're glued to a table and you're forced to undergo these experiments, that's not being polite. I can't see that being, that's not to me friendly. I think that's hostile. We're sentient beings, and they're performing experiments on us and taking parts of us when you're awake. They're cutting open your body and they're doing stuff and taking stuff. They're not asking your consent. They don't give monkeys about that. They're not worried about anything else, So, and they're quite happy to leave you for dead, move on for something else if they wanted to. I don't know why they put us back. I think if they didn't put us back, they'd have a higher disappearance and death rate than they do now. Perhaps they, what I think with study groups, I think a lot of people are right. This is purely my opinion. I think as they take me as a child, that they do the same thing and they do watch you through bloodlines or growing up. They're going to see, oh, does this disease work? And how can we fight that? How can we tweak that? And what can we do to this person? And what's going to make them stronger for us? And they take our sperm and our ovums and they make babies, or they make clones of both parents. This thing was identical to me. It was me. It was identical to me. But it was them. It was me on the outside, and then on the inside, the hair was black with lots of little black hair. It did not look right. It was really pink. She was really pink. So, and that kind of sticks with you. But at the same time, when they do talk, if it's one-on-one, it's good. And they was amazed. I can understand what they were saying, and it is so fast. It is so fast. It's like pulling like a silver string, like a cord through your head. It is so fast. You get the first couple of things. After that, it's just like a blur. It's just too fast. And if I'm laid down on a table and up to about 6 to 8 of them are close to me, maybe even more, I can hear what they're saying. I listen to their link in my head, but they can hear you listening, and then that gets fast. But if there's more than that, say 16, like a group of 16 of them can't understand a word, it's like you can't hear it. You can't. It's not comprehensible to a human being. So they do slow it or dumb it down for us when they're trying to specifically think and you're trying to focus, But that's something I didn't learn until later, or I didn't know I could do. I didn't know you could do that. It was just an experience I watched from inside my body. So that is, experience to me. And when people say, "Oh, experiencer," that takes away so much as an abductee. That I think that tries to dilute the word abductee down because people find it offensive. But it's the horrific truth of abduction, of alien abduction. You are being taken from your home by an unknown entity under the guise of night. Not only that, they're subduing you. They're torturing you. They're cutting chunks out of your body. They're doing this against your will. They're procreating and making babies or clones from you without your consent. You don't know what they're doing. It's awful. And then they put you back and you wake up and you're confused. Is someone going to believe you or not? And then you become ill from being abducted. You lose hair, or your teeth fall out. You get brands and rashes all over you. You get parts of your body missing, or you get lumps in, or there's marks all over your body, or you get black bruising everywhere. It's so there's a medical side effect, psychological effects, and biological effects all going on from being abducted. To me, that's not a positive thing. Is it stopping my headaches? No. Is it stopping vomiting blood? No. Is it causing more things? Yes. Is it causing people to be infertile? Yes. Have they taken a chance for me to be a mother away? Yes. So, you can't blame everything on biological and humanity, things that happen to you, things that happen to us in operations and emergencies happen because somebody or something's tampered with your body. So there's a long way to go. I don't think people thought of half of this. And another thing, which is scary, I mean, if these things are creatures or anything like me, and this baby they showed me had 45 years of memories, 40 years of my memories as a baby. What she could do as a hybrid with like her on the inside, they're black or dark on the inside with emotion. It's an ugly, nasty thing. But so it takes away our humanity. But what are you going to do when these things get pissed, or they had enough where they are, or because they've shown them, they kept a picture. This thing took a picture. She didn't want to take a picture. an image. And in this image, I said, why have you done that? Can you show me? And I looked, my hair was this, bright pink. I looked terrible. I had a rag on. But it contained my pheromone, my heartbeat, my all my bodily functions, everything in this just one picture. And she said, so everyone comes after her, all the others will know where she's like a digital catalogue, if you like, instant catalogue. So they know where that they come from. Well, if they're anything like me, they're going to want to come back and get revenge. And like, what are you going to do? Who's responsible for that? If these things go off, they told me they're taken to a planet. They show me this planet 30 million years away. I don't know even how far that is. Now they've taken them there as tiny embryos. Wake them up when they get there. The light subdues them until they get there. And they're breeding them and growing the population and putting them on this planet. So if they're there, because they took me there and showed me there, in an instant or a minute or two. But if these things are there and they can come back, and she's going to come back, if she's anything like me, this thing was the spitting image of me. What they allow, what they put inside them, or determination, have they made them cavemen on that planet? Is it going to take them a couple of 100 million years? Are there going to be advanced beings on that planet? If they are going to be advanced beings on that planet, will they need to mine? Is everything there for them? Do they have to scratch like human, start from scratch like humans do? There's so many questions that this chucks up that people ain't even thought of or looked into. Well, who is responsible for that? Is it us? If they're going to come back and blow up Mars, and we're there in 50 or 175 years' time, or 1,000 years' time, or if they come back tomorrow, start a World War 3 or 4, or beat the Russians or the Americans or the Chinese or the British to it, what are you going to do then? Who is responsible for that? Who is responsible for these hundreds of millions of souls out there being taken from Earth? So there's hundreds of these things they've just made from me, just one person. There's millions and hundreds of millions of people they've taken over the years, and sperm and ovum, and this shit they took me on must have been billions of eggs on there. So who is responsible for that? Is it the British government? What happens if these things come back to Earth and they cause a war with another race we didn't even know about along the way? Who's responsible for that? What happens if they start dying and come back here and want body parts from us? Who's going to give up their part, legs, body, or their brother or sister or child or baby or their blood, for these creatures? So, do they get status as human beings? What so many questions left unanswered. People can't see past the end of their own nose what the next steps is. Tommy says, they use this as food. If that's true and they come back and they get hungry, where does that leave the human race again? So, and if they were like Joe Blogs or Joe Good alien beings, they asked me if I wanted to go with them. It was a one-time question, yes or no, and I was never coming back to Earth. Well, why couldn't you come back to Earth? Why couldn't you come back and see the family? It's obviously an issue of connection they don't want you to have. I only think they asked me because they thought I could understand him. I could understand him. There's stuff that abductees know. So many different abductees know things that don't even know or not telling people. I don't know. I didn't realise that black space was a real thing. I had to ask a question at this meeting the other night. And there's this astrophysicist gentleman, kind of astronomer or astrologist, whatever he was. Brilliant chat. And I said, look, is there such a thing as black space? Because I feel like a bit of a muppet. And he said, yes, actually, there is, Tina. I said, well, they can't fly through because we don't know a lot about it. I said, well, they can't fly through black space. So whatever that means, there's something you don't know that you're one up on a government. They can't fly through black space. There you go. They can't make embryonic fluid to the same level as a human being. So does that mean they're technologically advanced and not biologically advanced, or they're biologically advanced and not technology advanced? They seem to crash a lot in our atmosphere. So they're obviously not used to living in our planet or coming to our planet. It doesn't agree with any of their systems, and they can't breathe oxygen in our planet. So something's, they're not meant to be here. Or we're not meant to be here. Something they did put us here. So there's lots of other experiences I could talk about. Tommy has so many more too. It's just your take on them. I could only tell you what's happened to me and what I've had time to think about. People don't realise, once you do get it out, and I was lucky enough to get it out and tell somebody, or so desperate for help in this field, I turned to a few people, for help, and it gives you that break, that difference. Once you get it out, you feel a lot better, which is what I was saying earlier, and it gives you time to reflect. And I've done the reflecting, and now I'm really angry. And people say, well, why are you angry? There's so many things that people say that just aren't true, and so many things the government just needs to give up and start looking at seriously. you know, it's not right. They're not playing fair. It's not fair. They're not. We pay taxes to be protected and looked after. If they're not, if they are, we are their flock, and they're paid to look after us. They're not being good shepherds. So I'll wait for Tommy to come back on in a second, but I could talk all night and rant all night about what's right and wrong about these things. But it's not Tommy.
No, thank you, Tina. People, I just want to show you people out there that we're real people. We have our problems. We have our situations we're dealing with. And like people out there don't understand if
No.
you see an alien, you get abducted or any of those things, your life changes. You will never be the same. And most people will never understand where you are. They might say, "Oh, I feel sorry for them. Oh, it sounds pretty bad." But they don't know what you went through. If I took you and put you in a cartoon and you were really in it and you came back, what would you feel? You would think you're crazy. Well, it's not much different when you're freaking standing in front of an alien on a ship or doing something really weird. So, people, again, this is as real as it gets, this show. I try to keep it that way. Like I said, I don't bring people that tell stories on. We did twice, and I try not to do that ever again. People that are into money, like the one person I have, billionaire, and he's going to build a space station for aliens. I said, we got children dying and starving, and he's going to build a space station for aliens to come to visit, what, him? So people, money doesn't make things better. Money changes everything, like Cyndi Lauper, the song. It does, but it doesn't make things better. You can't buy love. You can't buy health. You could try, but it doesn't really work. You can get make-believe help, make-believe love, but aliens aren't here to love us or help us. And as soon as people admit that, they might not be say, "Hey, we need disclosure. We need to know they're really here helping us." That's not what they're here for. And you go to these conferences and you'll hear all these experiences come out. Oh, they're going to help us do that. They're going to help us do this. They helped us do that. They helped us do this. For one thing that they're helping us do that's beneficial for the world. They might help a person here and there to make them follow. The same as if you give your soul over to Satan. He'll give you everything you want, but it's not going to make you a better person, and it's not going to really help you in the end. So when we deal with aliens, which I did, which Tina did, you will slowly see they're not offering us help in any good way. I mean, if they wanted to help us purify the water, purify the air, and help people in war and things like that, they don't. Aliens have been around every war that we had. They didn't stop it. And guess what happened? They took more people that were dead or people that were on the field that just disappeared, and they go unnoticed or unknown. Like, well, they just disappeared. They must have got blown up. But see, people, and I just wrote a letter to a person talking about the park. So we all need to go to a park this weekend. It's park weekend and all that. I said, well, they put a list on the side of the wall when you go in there, how many people actually disappeared in the park. They don't legally have to do that. And 10, 20,000 people disappear in a year's time. And not one park will say, hey, we lost 10 people, 2 families, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they find a car there and the whole family's gone. Or parents turn around within one split second, their child's missing. There's no cliff for them to fall off of. There's no place for them to disappear.
In Alaska, Tommy's right. There's, God, is it not?
It's almost that time.
Yeah. There's some state in Alaska that lost, is it 300,000 people in a matter of 3 to 6 months? It's horrendous. People don't realize how many people are actually going missing on the planet. They can't walk out during winter because in summer or spring, when the ice defrosts from Alaska, you'd find the dead bodies, you find the cars. These people are never seen again, never seen in another state. Their cash point cards are never used again. Their clothes are never found. Their bodies are never found. It's got there's lots of questions. So Tommy's opened up the camera. Wham's there, people. There's some questions you should be asking about that. But is that time, Tommy?
Right. See, there's a lot of things I wish I could show you people, but and the word disclosure is not going to happen the way we want it to. And by the same token, I'm going to get into this, but let's do what Tina's going to do. We'll get back to what I'm going to say. It's about what's happening, really. But
so I've got this. It's a electrical magnetic radiation tester. There it is. There, I got it on Amazon. It was about £18-20. There it is. There, that's the one. And this is my second one. About 2 years ago now, I dropped my one near Christmas some year, and it fell in the sink or tea. I can't remember now. I'm just going to turn on, push red button now. As you can see there, you will see a volts per meter and micro testers there. So that's what the bottom one's for, and it comes up. It's safe at the moment. When it starts beeping red and the numbers come up and it says harmful, then you're in problems. Now, mine's not flashing at the moment because mine is a safe screen TV and Tommy's isn't. So it means it doesn't give off electrical magnetic radiation, background radiation, and doesn't give off volts per
Mine
meter.
does.
Unfortunately, Tommy doesn't have this. He has a different screen to me, which is why his goes off now.
Mine goes off on the top, not the bottom.
Yep. So I'm going to just put this. There it is. There. I'm just gonna hold the end, and I'm just going to slowly put it towards my head. So as you can see, that is actually saying harmful. So I've got to go back again.
So Tina, it's only like 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, you weren't radioactive. One time it was like completely not going off.
But since I must admit, since I've had that issues, I've been having all these bruises on my head come out and over my body. But there you go.
People, do you know anything about radiation? It doesn't go up and down. It doesn't disappear and come back.
I get different readings from one side of my body to the next.
What's going on with Tina is almost impossible, people, and I'm serious about that. It's not a trick. What was that? Okay. It's not a make-believe toy. It's not a trick. It's not set up to do things. It's a real simple little Geiger counter, which I have too. And I made her buy it a long time ago.
He did.
It
3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. He told me that I was having like brown problem with skin and losing hair and teeth and that. And Tommy said, Tina, get a Geiger counter. I thought he was taking a mickey. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to buy one. Went out and bought it, and I could not believe the readings. And Tommy was right. That shocked me, that has. But I've had a real bad health this last few years, and it's been deteriorating a bit. But I'm okay now, but we've all had it. And yes, I've had problems nowhere with my book, and I've had every type of production company out there looking at it. I've had Amazon looking at it, and it's just
people.
And also, Tommy, a few weeks ago, my partner nearly got run over. I'm not sure if it was a deliberate attempt. He said that they mounted the curb on the wrong side of the road, drove up a grass bridge to knock him over, and just missed him, just caught him. And I had a few other things, like my phone won't work in the house, or Wi-Fi go down. So if I go to do a show or go to speak to someone, there's no Wi-Fi, no signal, no TV, no phone, no nothing, unaccounted for. And the gentleman we haven't since last year. I've emailed him a few times and tried to book him. And when I went to this support meeting for abductees, turns out that he's not gone missing, but he's withdrawn everything. I was his next person to do, and he's not been seen since, or hide nor hair of the gentleman, and has not been practicing anywhere.
I've got a couple things going on. I have a good friend that I've been trying to bring on, but he came out of it. He was put in jail, false charges. I mean, they did everything to try to kill him and everything else, but he's out with cancer really bad. He's fighting it to the max. But he was the one that discovered Area 51. He brought people out there every 2 weeks to see the mothership come in. People, you don't hear people talking about, oh, I found this, I did that. No, he did it. He wanted to bring me out there. He was on a TV show and wanted to bring Montel Williams out there. And he said, oh, come out. And he punked out. And then he went out there a month and a half later. Oh, I went out there. There's nothing going on in Area 51. He said, I'm friends with the 4-star general. Obviously, he couldn't say a word. So, people, I don't deal with losers. I don't deal with liars. I don't deal with cheaters. I don't like those words, period. Truth only is my motto. And if you don't like it, sorry, you're not my friend. I can't stand a person lying to me under any circumstances. If I would have found out people that lied to me in the beginning, I would have never been friends with them, married them, or any of those words. Because, a lie is always there. It doesn't disappear. And it shows you how much they truly love you and care about you. I mean, a white lie is a little different. It's just doing something so you don't hurt a person, but it's not something bad. I mean, when it's a lie, it's to protect your sorry little butt. But we're not in that frame. Like I said, people watching this, what Tina's going through is critical. And I ask anybody out there that knows any scientist that's willing to get involved in any for 5 minutes to understand what's going on with her radiation thing, it'd be great, because I talked to 3 people already. One says, well, let me see the meter, let me see this. Never got back to me. He won't get back to me. It's like either the government don't get involved with that, or they're just afraid to. But radiation does not go up and down. It doesn't disappear and come back. It doesn't move from side to side in your body. People, watch the movie Silkwood, and it shows you about radiation poisoning. It was Cher, that was the girl that came down with it. But realize she has all the symptoms of it, and I knew that right away. People, but people that get abducted have radiation effects, and people that lie usually don't.
It affects the brain. They've got scientific evidence now to say that it affects the brain. How the radiation affects the brain, and it's different. It alters it as well. So they've got scientific evidence to back that up now.
But see, government doesn't enforce that, doesn't explain it or tell it. And now, Tina, you're not going to be around much longer, but I did want to get into it, but I'll probably wait till you leave, because I wanted to get into really what's going on now with this whole thing about UFOs and disclosure and who's bringing it out and why lies are coming out, why the truth's not coming out, why they say all these things. Oh, the government has all these groups now investigating all the UFO pictures. They cannot release the truth.
They've had those pictures 70, 100 years, and they've still done nothing with them, drawn no conclusions from them, shared them with everybody, or come up with a decent report, or have they been studied? Absolutely useless. What are they taking them for? What are they doing with them? Oh, don't get me started on that. Right, before I go then, I'm just going to say thank you for people. I know we've lost a few viewers recently. I haven't been on for a few weeks, and then we had medical issues. But me and Tommy are still here, guys. Please come back if you want to see us. It's good to see John's on here every week. Well done, John. I do miss you guys. Please come back. So if you want to ask questions, or you have a question or an answer from a previous show, if you want to come on the show and you want to say something different, or if you have something else you want to ask about, or if you have information for us, we'd like to be interviewed by myself or Tommy, please come on the show and let us know. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and you can find me also on here weekly with Tommy. Tommy has put, or is going to, or will put up his email address, which will be in the comments either below or in the comments box. Tommy, and you can email Tommy. Tommy has free books. He can give you advice. He can tell you about other shows. You can contact him to come on the show, and you can send him pictures via email. So if you need to, please do that. I've been Tina Barrett here in Southampton in the UK, and a good night, Tommy, over in Hawaii.
Well, Tina, it's always a pleasure, but before you go, is there anything happening with your book?
I've resubmitted it again, and it's not gone through, sadly. So we're looking at other options. I might have to close my account down and just reopen up another account. So I'll have to relaunch all my books again.
Tina, you have to call me offline. I got somebody that'll probably help you publish a book without dealing with the government, without dealing with all these weird people. She's got her own company. All right, we'll talk about that. But It's always a pleasure, Tina. Stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Call me if you can. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
All right, people. Tina Burr, great person. Sorry she's going through what she's going through. But what I wanted to get into before I close the show out. Now, there's so many UFO conferences in a year's time now. Way back, there was only 2 a year in the United States. Now there's, 100 or more. So all these people trying to make money. Realize, people, when you spend $500 to get into a conference, all right, I'd say half of that money is going to pay for the big name speaker that's there. That big name speaker, no matter who it is, has very little actual facts or proof of being abducted, being next to an alien, or any of those important ideas and truths. So you're going to pay, this guy gets paid $20,000 to speak for 2 hours, to tell you a bunch of stories, and this. And, everybody's against the government. The government is here to defect the rich people in the United States, period. That's what they're for. And that's what they do. When the Constitution was created, it was for the rich people. So if you're a poor person, guess what? You're the person that'll be on top of the ground when a nuclear bomb hits us from a ship, an alien, whatever, and gets the consequences. They'll be underground in their beautiful community, cities, and whatever. People, this is the real thing. It's not like all the storytellers that you hear at these conferences. Well, the good aliens took me here, and we did that and this. They go on, and now it seems like all the so-called spiritual people claiming to be that are talking about bringing everybody to the Galactic Confederation. And Stephen Greer is talking about us talking to aliens. They have nothing important to tell us. Science has nothing important to tell us either. And everybody says, well, science is the most important thing. No, it's not. If you found a food that's clean and healthy, you don't need toxins and poisons or anything else around it or to put in it. And I'm gonna start writing a bunch of letters about sugar, people. Oh, it's dangerous, it's fattening. So we're going to give you diet sugar. And now all these sodas, which I've been finding out because I didn't drink soda for 20 years, and I just been drinking a little bit here and there, and soda, and it says no sugar, sugar-free, right? But they put aspartame and all the toxic poisons in it. Okay? Now, what I was going to say, just to show you the facts are twisted. When I was in school, every friend of mine, every person in the school drank Coca-Cola, 7-Up, Pepsi, ate hamburgers and pizza. And there was only about 2% of the people in the whole school that were overweight. Why is that? Now everybody drinks soda and diet this and diet that, and 60% of the people in school or anywhere are overweight. How's that possible? It's not sugar, people. There's a reason why they block in sugar. I live on sugar, and a lot of it's corn syrup because most people corn syrup in drinks and everything else. I can't find a soda without it. All right. It says sugar, corn syrup. Corn syrup is toxic as well. So, no matter what you believe, aliens have brought corn to this planet, whether you know that or not. And it's being pushed in everything made that you eat, which is a dangerous, toxic food for a reason. All right. And more people are getting sick and sicker and different diseases and everything else. And there's one way. You break down a person's immune system. Are aliens here to help us? Do what? What can they tell you? What can you ask an alien? If you had a choice to talk to an alien or God, who would you talk to? An alien? Well, how do I become what? Famous? Make money? What would you ask an alien that you think he could help you with? About dying? Really? All right. People, I've been dealing with this all my life. It started when I was 6 years old. I'm not going to go into my stories right now, but it's real. And to be laughed at, to be called crazy all your life, it's sad. I mean, I hope the idea that aliens become world public so that they will know that they're there. But you're not going to hear what they're here for. The government will never come out and tell you. Well, they can't tell you, and they won't. So no matter what Stephen Greer does, and all these other big name speakers say and do, well, disclosure is going to happen. It happened. And what people want to happen is not going to happen, ever. There's no such thing as a good alien. Well, you might say there's no such thing as a bad alien. Well, it depends. An agenda is what everything has. An animal, a country, and people. They all have an agenda. Now, even in religion, the agenda of religions is not the same. And there's 9 races dealing with this planet. Sure, there's 27 alien races, but most of them can't do a thing for people or the planet. They can't interfere. They can't get involved. Where the bad people, I can name them all, but you know what they are, hopefully, cannot do anything beneficial and do not. And when these people lecture, they talk about the good greys, the good reptilians, the good mantis, the good this and that and the other thing. The mind can only perceive so much. And when you stand next to an alien or whatever, your mind can't perceive what's really going down. And it doesn't. All right? Soul understands everything, which is what you truly are. But most people do not know the difference between soul and mind. Buddha never taught that. Buddha taught everything's the mind, which it's not. Your mind is a part of the brain. Soul is not. Soul's in the car. The whole body is a car that it uses. It's not what soul is. The body dies. Soul does not. So when we talk about aliens, what can they help us with? Why would you want to talk to an alien? What do you think they could give you? What kind of information? How to get free energy? Well, here's a simple little story. Nikola Tesla invented 200 devices. 50 of them are the most deadliest weapons on the planet today. All right. He was given technology from an alien race, period. Not college, not schools, not teachers. And he didn't go in his dream and say, wow, I'm going to invent this, a noiseless this or that, free energy. No, he was given the facts and the truth. When he created time travel, it wasn't out of his own brain. Aliens have been doing that for a long period of time before they gave it to Mr. Tesla. So now, things that you could find out about when I was with Sergeant 18, he had an out-of-place artifact, meaning something that cannot exist in this time frame. And basically what it means, something inside of something, like a camera, a spoon, a knife, inside a rock that's over 50,000 years old. Impossible. So when you say, no, that's not real, there's real artifacts that are out-of-place artifacts. He had one of them. He tried to sell it. And he's still trying, I think. I'm not sure. He kind of disappeared into the woodwork. But somebody said he's coming out. We'll see. But we were together for 6 years. We filmed ships and we put them out there mainstream. Real pictures of real ships, not little dots going around in circles and zigzagging and stuff like that. All right. When we did Strange Universe, it's been taken off the air since he pulled everything we did off. That video disappeared too. And it was like a preview of the TV show called Strange Universe. Well, it showed him that he put it on there, and they showed it, of a ship stopping, shooting 3 ships out, and then shooting out. And we put that on a TV show in 1997. Guess what? Nothing comes close to that today. I mean, as of right now, the UFO world, as far as people shooting videos and pictures and all that, it's multiplying by 1,000. And I put it up there. Check out Instagram. Type UFOs and aliens and all that. I'm not going to say every alien picture on Instagram is real. There's a lot of people trying to fake that. But, I always say, if 1 out of 100 is real, guess what? It's real. I mean, people like to brainwash, and the government always puts counteractions and different things to counterblock them so that you don't see the truth or you don't get it. But what I'm afraid of, which is happening, with all the stuff's coming out, which is multiplied all the time. Go on Instagram. They got thousands of pictures of ships and UFOs over them and over the government ships and things like that. And all these other, they don't all look the same. They're all incredible. So if they're all fake, somebody has to have a super incredible mind to create the images, to create the scenario, and spend time doing it. So you got hundreds and hundreds of people doing this every day to create images to make people believe in aliens. Well, said person just creating karma for himself. And that's sad. But in the interim, check out these sites. Check out the things that are coming out. What I'm trying to say is all this stuff's coming out. And guess what? More people are disappearing. More people are going to jail. More people are being put in the nut house. Today, some places you can't mention aliens. The same as when you were a witch. Witchcraft became legal when I was young. A friend of mine went to court in New Jersey, fought in court to make witchcraft legal as a religion. All right? Because before that, they had signs in Jersey on the street corners. If you know a witch, put their address here and we'll burn their car, blow their house up, whatever we can. It was horrible. But just imagine if an alien was walking around the street. There's so many things going on which you don't get to see or hear about. In the UFO world, they don't talk about the truth much. I'm going to tell you something that happened, 97, 98. Picatinny Arsenals in New Jersey. It was the first Army base in the United States. Right before I was moving, they were given like $4 or $5 million to fix it up. 2 weeks later, we're closing it down. Oh, they got all this money and they're closing it down. It didn't close down. The same as when they put the ads up that the HARP system was shut down and sold. That was another lie. But getting back to Picatinny Arsenal, had the most elaborate laboratory probably in the United States. And what they did there, real quick, created 6 super soldiers, meaning elaborate, I don't know what you want to call them, half human and half whatever, half alien, but superpowers. They were about 8 feet tall and all that kind of stuff. They have red eyes that glow and all that kind of stuff. But real people, or whatever, super soldiers, and they were sent out somewhere. They can't walk the street. They can't walk down New York City street. They can't walk anywhere publicly. What did they do with these people? What are they going to do with them? I mean, this giant black truck had to come and take them away because they couldn't fit in a car. So what did the government do with these kind of beings? Send them to a country for war? And you don't hear the Russians saying, hey, they sent these giant beings over here. Or you don't hear anything about it. Why? So the same as the underground cities. Nobody talks about it. Now, the New World Order home base, which Jesse Ventura exposed on TV, you don't hear a single word about that. It's over an entrance to the underground city. One of them. All right? But you don't hear stuff like that. He went out to a FEMA camp. Do you know what a FEMA camp really is? Do you have a clue why they're built, why they're there, and who's in them? Well, what's this have to do with aliens? Basically, if you find out facts, if you're not taken out, you're sent away. All right? And FEMA camps are for people that they can't let out publicly, and they have to take the whole family. I mean, they got rides and toys for the kids to play and things like that, but it's a prison. But who knows how long they let them live in there, seriously. But aliens are here, and I know for a fact they are. I was next to one. Tina was next to a bunch of them. But what do they want to do with us? Nothing good. And if you believe that these UFO conferences are going to tell you something important, all they can do is say, well, the government had Project Blue Book, Project Pegasus, oh, Area 51, oh, Roswell. Roswell's just a simple story of 2 people. John Ford's in the nut house right now. He shot the best video of a UFO crash on Long Island. People, you want to do something? Get him out of jail, out of the nut house. He has to go to trial if he gets out, but they won't let him go to trial. Every year before he goes to trial, probably 2 weeks before, the government comes in and says, oh no, we have to reevaluate him, which means they keep him in there for another year. He's been in there since 1996, a long time to every year come out and say we have to reevaluate him. My friend Sean, who's out of jail, is dying, had more information, was one of the top psychics in the United States, is dying, trying really hard to survive and stay here. I hope I could get him on a show before anything bad happens. I miss him. I've been trying to get in touch with him. I did talk to him for a while on and off. But, government still going after people, which is what I wanted to bring out. So why are they coming after me? Who knows? Who knows what they're doing to me? Why I'm still alive, why I'm out talking. But I'm not attacking the government per se. They're here to protect the rich people, period. And that's what they are doing. Do they want to tell all the poor people out there starving that aliens are going to come eat them? Why would they want to do that? They have the biggest riot going on in the United States. They can't release the truth. And what I say, the truth hurts. No matter what it is, whether it's about God, Jesus, Moses, Buddha, angels, whatever. If you want the truth comes out. People get upset and don't believe it or don't want to hear it. It's not pleasurable because it goes against all the programming that most people have. So when you get programmed by an alien or the government, which is what the word experiences are, doesn't help mankind. Makes a person believe in his ego that everything's good and they're better or whatever. But if they stand in front of a car, they're going to get scrunched by it if it runs them over. Or if they get sick, they're going to die. It's not like they're getting protected in any way. The same as people that believe Jesus is going to protect them. From what? Protect your body from life? No, the soul that you are is all that gets protected. And then again, reincarnating is non-protection. Aliens know very little about the subject, God. They can't come here and teach us about it. There's nothing they can because they don't know. They don't have feelings. They don't have emotions, per se, like we do in any level. So what do they care about? Love? They're going to bring love better to the planet? We can't love each other as humans. You think aliens are going to bring anything more important to us? People, next time you go to a UFO conference, think of me and think about why you're spending $2,000 or $5,000 to listen to a bunch of people go on. It's a great party. If you're going at a party, which some people do, Michael Sauer, who lived in Hawaii, I debated with him a couple times. He lived here. I met him. He opened up a piece of land and dedicated it for aliens to land on it. I went during that day to see what was going on. They had these dances. They built an altar and all this stuff. And they really expect aliens to land there when they come to Hawaii. All right. People, ego is so big. People that think they're important or they're better or these other words. People that see aliens aren't better. They're not. And Tina's is one of them, and she's not trying to be, I'm better, I'm this, that, or the other thing. And the word psychic, oh, I'm psychic now. What are you psychic about? That you know you're going to get hit by a car if you go out today? I mean, soul knows that. All right, doesn't need aliens to tell them what's going on. So when you become in touch with yourself as soul, you're a lot more aware. And that's all you have to do. But that ability has been taken away. And it was because of aliens, not because of God, not because of spirits, angels, and things like that. Going back to Atlantis, we did have 32 psychic abilities, which means we all went through ascension. But when alien races came here, 2 alien races came, we can't control them. We can't do anything with them. So what did they do? Destroyed Atlantis. Reprogram the human race to be killers, rapists, and liars, and cheaters, and stealers, and all those words. So it wasn't that. When Atlantis was alive, it was the only time we were actually in the Garden of Eden. That's when it was created. God created us and created that and let us to enjoy what we are. But aliens are a lot lower than we are as a spiritual entity. And all these UFO people, well, they're much more enlightened. Enlightened about what? Space travel? That doesn't make you spiritual. Traveling to our space in a ship, you are not spiritual. Period. Nothing about a ship or technology is spiritual. I can go into a couple of stories that are really dramatic and I went through and stuff, but not today. People, when you spend money to listen to a person speak, make sure you're going to get something important and good out of it. All these New Age spiritualists and most famous spiritual beings on the planet, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Pope, Dalai Lama, all those kind of people, telling you about living life in the moment. Wow, I'm living in the moment. I got to be the best I can. Well, hopefully you always think you are or should be trying to be that. No, I'm going to become a drunk and just sit around and smoke and blah, blah, blah. That's because you're too lazy to become aware and do anything. You don't need some spiritual person to tell you you're destroying your life. But on the other hand, you don't need a spiritual person to come out and tell you, oh, you can be spiritual if you do this and you do that and you pray to this and you get on the Galactic Federation ship and they'll help you. Help you what? People, you put your energy into things you don't know. Put it in things you know. What was the last time God, Jesus, or an angel or anything actually worked with you? Probably don't know or never had an experience with that. Why? Because your attention's on smoking, drinking, sports, everything other than what you should be focused on, yourself as soul. Well, I'm going to send unconditional love to the world. Useless. What do you think you're doing in the name of God for the planet? Well, I gave money to a charity. So, is it going to help them really? How much? I mean, we ship when that during a couple of wars and different things when we ship food to a country, the bad people take it. And it goes into physical reality. My brother had a girlfriend in the Philippines, and he sent her a package, money and gifts. It was stolen, and she was killed for it. They caught the maid that stole it and all that. But people are into the wrong things. Not on love. Whoa, love's all important. Every speaker talks about love. If they loved us, they would tell us the truth about it. We aren't dealing with it. Relationships are deteriorating more and more. If you watch every show on TV, you'll see the obesity or how bad it's becoming. Husband, wife, and friend, husband, wife, and wife, and wife, and husband, girlfriend, and the 10 guys, and this and that, and all that other stuff. Really? Oh, you should have sex with 10 people before you decide who you like. The ideas on TV that they're showing. And a lot of these shows, even the one with the girl became a boy became a girl. And what do they talk about? The body parts and sex and all that. And this is a show for children. And they're saying that programming children to do what? To become what? Aliens? Now that the government in other countries allow coding, crossbreeding animals and humans together, we're going to have a lot of strange things coming out. They're coming out, but most of them are in prison and cells and things like that until they decide what they're really going to do with them. But I mean, years ago, a body got out, I guess, an entity, creature, out of the New York lab and was found on a beach, and they covered that up super fast because it was half creature and half human. But all these things that government's going to be doing in other countries, you think it's going to make the world better in any way? Cloning a bat with a human or a human with a peacock, whatever, some stupid thing. And what do they want to create? They already cloned animals and insects. They created a super strong silk. I mean, they got their reasons to try to do it. But did you ever see the movie The Fly? Watch it. It's a real invention, teleportation. But what would happen if what happened in the movie really happened? You change molecules to go through this thing to get somewhere else. But what if something else is in there, like in The Fly? A fly was in it when he got into the cage and went through time. The fly became half human, half fly, and he became half fly and half human. So, what can happen? Lots of bad things. When any person, thing, or entity thinks they can play God here, only can hurt us. Because there is only one God, people, whether you believe there's multiple gods. And sorry, people, Jesus was the only one that talked about one singular God. Period. All right. Hinduism, the first religion on the planet, we're dealing with deities. I don't want to go through all that. You must have heard it in many of my talks. We're dealing with negativity at every level. Aliens, demons, creatures. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And the UFO world doesn't talk about it because they know very little about it. They know very little about leaving their bodies, meeting with angels, and any of those words. They know very little or nothing. Meeting with an alien? Wow. I go out every day, every night when I can. I'll shine a light up there and I'll get lights blinking back at me and all kinds of stuff. I tell the aliens, look, you want something from me? Take what you want, but you got to give me something back. They're afraid to do that deal. They don't want to expose themselves yet, even though John Lennon was given something that nobody else was given from an alien. Uri Geller has it. All right, people. I was just dealing with a story, and David Icke, I was going to ask Tina if she likes him. I saw him once here in Hawaii. There was a fight in the audience and everything else while I was speaking, and crazy. But he has nothing important to say, and all he's doing is twisting things that are happening in the United States. He just mentioned that John Lennon, the guy that killed John Lennon, was probably not a bad person. And I said, do you know anything about it? Were you there? You're going to listen to some idiot telling a story about something that they don't know? My friend, John Edmonds, who was killed last Christmas, was on that street corner watching it happen. All right. Well, there's a second shooter, like John when Kennedy was shot. Oh, the second shooter. Well, I saw videos of a shooter shooting Kennedy from the front of the car. That was censored and gone in a short period of time. I mean, there's so many things that people try to change, rearrange, and tell more stories about it. Instead of telling us, do you know what happened to 9/11? No, you don't. Why not? Do you want to listen to lies all your life? I guess you do. Do you want to stay in this horrible world? Yes, you do. Because this is all you know. You're put in a box and fed in a box. That's all you know. Put a glass window on the box, you look outside. Say, I want to go outside the box. But if you don't have no window, you'll stay in that box forever. And the earth is a box. Mars and the moon and stuff, not much further than the box that you're in. The universe is still another box. Until you're free of all that, you understand what soul really is. All right, people, you want to believe what's happening? Go out. Oh, I mentioned if you want to do what I do, prove to yourself that ships are over you all the time and things are happening. Go out and don't buy a $3,500 night vision goggles, which I would if I had the money. But I bought a monocular. I could show it to you, but next time. It was about $100. But guess what? It's got a camera in it. It's got 8 times zoom plus infrared and all that. But viewing the nighttime sky, you really don't need infrared. An infrared goggles that cost $3,500 need the infrared for a reason. But again, with this little monocular, this big, I can see things that I can't see with my naked eye. I can see the stars through clouds. I can see the stars even as sunrise coming up. It's incredible for the price. And if you want to see UFOs, it's a great thing to use because you can actually film it as well when you see it. It's the zoom. I don't know. The one I have, I just can keep zooming and it zooms and zooms and zooms in. All right. Color, it's black and white. It's not color. So that's the only negative side of it. But when you use infrared glasses, everything's green. So it's worth the money. If you never saw a UFO, want to see UFOs all the time, spend $100. You don't have to go out and buy a $500,000 camera even. It's on, I think, Wish. Checking out this too. One has a square viewfinder, which you actually see the video in that. I didn't even use mine. I could show you both of them, but they're both cheap. The other one's only like $50. Maybe I should show you so you can go out and get them because you don't need to go to a UFO conference. You don't need to hear other people tell you things. People, here's my bag. It's got all my cameras. Here's the first camera I'm going to tell you about. This is the first one when you see it online. All right. The best thing you could get for the money. It's about $80, $90 right now. All right. The other one I bought is this one. It's cheaper. I didn't get to use it yet. It's got a little more controlling functions on it. Like that other one I showed you, it's got like a 3-minute timer and it shuts off and then you have to start it again. So you can't film something for like 2 hours with it. But this, you could set the time and everything else, but you got a little video of what you're seeing there instead of looking through the lens and seeing it. Might be a plus or a negative to you, what you see. But again, they both work incredible at night. And if you want to see something you didn't, and you can film it, they're the perfect little things. I mean, but I use things like this. I won't shine at you, burn your eyeballs out. Lasers, real lasers that aren't toys. All right. I have one other camera, and this is just for if you're out there. It's only that big. It's in a little bag. All right, it's a body camera that police use. But you keep it on you while you're out there. It's always on while you're out there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. You put it on, and you can film everything you're looking at while you're doing with your other cameras. So I'm debating on buying another one of the cameras I just showed you, because I could leave one on a stand. I'm on a roof, and I got a slanted roof, and I just figured out how to put my stand there and put the camera on there, and I could leave that set up and put it on every couple minutes while I have the other one in my hand and looking everywhere I want to look. But you'll notice all my videos are a little bit like that. So a stand is an incredible thing, but then again, it's got a small view. When you're looking at UFOs and stuff, they're small, or they could be a big ship. But what I'm saying, when they're moving, it's hard to do that when you're on a stand and follow it and move the stand and everything else while you're trying to follow it. So I usually hold it. But then again, some of them are incredible. I just filmed one 2 days ago, moving so slow. I never saw a ship move that slow. It wasn't a satellite. All right. I got 2 other cameras. I got this camcorder, which I'm playing with. I'm having a problem with it. It doesn't shut off when I keep the battery in, so I have to take the battery out. But I got multiple cameras, and I never had the money to buy a nice infrared goggles. But again, they're so expensive. And what this does is very close to what that can do. And I'm serious about that. So spend $100 if you're really interested. I have a book, a manual, How to See a UFO, field manual. It's free. Just text me. I'll send it to you. Hey, I didn't see you around in a while. Greetings. It gives you the foundation of how to see a UFO. And I promise you, if you read it and do what I tell you to do, you'll see a UFO at least and understand that they're real. And satellites, realize people, they'll tell you it's a satellite or it's a fallen satellite or blah, blah, blah. Satellites are small. The space station's big and things like that, but satellites are little. They could be this big or this big even, all right? And you're not going to see that from miles and miles away, no matter what you think, all right? When they send up 100 at a time, you're going to see all 100 of them? No. When they shot those 1,500 up last year or the year before, when they were going up, you could see them. There were a big trail of lights going across the sky until they spread out. But when you get up into the higher atmosphere, you're not going to see them. So when they say, oh, you're looking at a satellite, there's a lot of things that they do that a satellite can't do. One is change color. I had a ship. I didn't film it. I was watching it. It was a ball of white light going like this, right? And I took out my laser and I hit it. It was a blue laser. The light turned blue, and it was a ball of blue light for about 3 seconds, and it turned back to white. I did it 3 times. I didn't have my camera on me. I mean, I couldn't get the camera while I was doing that with it, and it just disappeared. They'll blink on and off a couple times. They'll disappear and come back as you're watching it. Or a lot of times, if they know you're watching and they don't want you to see them, they'll just disappear within a split second, and things like that. Satellites can't do that. You can watch a satellite go, if you can see it. All right? They don't have big spotlights on satellites. So if you see this big ball of light, it's not a satellite. Oh, it's a reflection. No, it's not. Something this big, miles away, is going to make a ball bright as the sun. No possible way. All right. If you really want to see a UFO, I'll send you my manual. And then go out and buy a cheap camera. To me, $100 is cheap. Can't get cheaper than that for anything that really works. All right. People, I hope you got something out of the show. Please send this link to every friend you have, whether they like it or not. Tell them I told you to send it to them. Please, I don't do this to make money. I'm not trying to get you to buy my things. I'm trying to make my other book free to send to people, but it has nothing to do with UFOs. But it's probably the most important book I ever did or ever will create. The title is True Teachings of Jesus from God Realization. But again, I don't go into religion. Tina's not into religion or government or health. I mean, they're not helping her. None of them are. So she doesn't have too much faith in them. I don't blame her. If all the things that happened to her were happened to you, would you think Jesus is protecting you? Moses, Muhammad, or anybody's really protecting you or working with you? Gabriel, Michael, all those names. Sorry, not really happening. So, again, Tommy Hawksblood here. Oh, if you want to send me money, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. If I even got enough money to buy an infrared camera, I would. But I'm not pushing it. If I ever get it before I die, that's one thing. I'm 70 years old, people. I've been involved with this since I was 6 years old. Tina was young when she started. I think around 6 as well when they first took her. And it seems like the average story, when a person first gets abducted, they're 6 or 7, around that age, because they're aware, but they're not protected. Parents can't protect their children. And there is a way to protect yourself from getting abducted, people. I'm not going to tell you. First, realize that they're real. First, realize that they can hurt you and they're not here to help you. Then you might want to worry about protection. But you live life and, I got protection. Jesus protects me. Moses or Muhammad or anybody you want to talk about. Well, Gabriel watches over me. My grandfather watches over me. No, they don't, people. They can't. When you die, you don't become an angel. You don't have superpowers because you're now dead. Where you are, you have different abilities because you're in a different body. But when you reincarnate back into this body, you're the same old thing in the body without super abilities. Well, that could change, but mankind's not going to allow it to. Government won't allow it to. The same as when Atlantis was destroyed, God created the perfect body, the perfect world. The immune system was impossible and unpenetratable. Anything that went in there toxic, it could destroy it. But it's been broken down and destroyed, the immune system. Our lymphocytes, we have a set number. I'll say 1 million. And they're in your body fighting. But when you bring 2-3 million toxics in there, guess what? They start losing the war. And that's how people get sick. But in the days of Atlantis, nothing could hurt a person, that kind of a thing. But we didn't eat animals. We didn't kill each other. We didn't hurt each other. We didn't lie, cheat, or any of those words didn't exist. We weren't worried about the shoes we wore, the hat that we were going to buy, and things like that either. It was a different lifestyle. I don't think we could ever go back to that now. If you experience this kind of reality, you wouldn't want to experience that. Tribal people live like that. I mean, some tribal people, even the native nation in the United States, would have destroyed their food supply if they lived the way they did. You can't take a herd of buffalo and run them off a cliff. That's a herd of buffalo that's going to decrease the number of buffalo. Then you got the cavalry driving along in trains shooting at buffalo. People, our system's screwed up. Our people are screwed up. When are you going to look for the truth? I'm trying to give it to you. I don't go into the spiritual sides because Tina doesn't want to deal with that right now. But I do a show as often as I can about that. And it's Tuesday today. I'll try to do one before Friday. If you care about the truth about death, birth, reincarnation, life, and all that, Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle cannot say a word about it. When Eckhart Tolle came out and mentioned Jesus and Buddha, they had the same teaching. No, they did not, people. Buddha didn't believe in God. Jesus taught about one God. No connection. When people, there's a book, somebody gave it to me, Jesus and Buddha. No, their teachings were not the same in every way. Love's not the answer. I only hear love's the answer. Well, put your faith on something that's not real. Oh, love's real for a moment, for temporary, for a time frame. People 20, 30 years old get divorced and fight. People in general don't last more than 6 to 10 years without the idea of sex and all those other words coming in to take away their relationship. Children don't make it better either. Most people aren't prepared to teach a child anything important. We got a horrible system, and it's only getting worse, people. And with UN Agenda 21-30 closing in every day, every month, every year, There's 7 years left, people. All right. Now, my friend, Sergeant 18, said in 2034, Jesus comes down and destroys Lucifer. Really? You know, people say a lot of things, but they have no awareness. I mean, I was with him for 6 years about UFOs and stuff, and he wasn't spiritual. Never was. And all of a sudden, he started talking about Jesus and meet with Jesus and all the other stuff. He put a big statue of Mary in back of him. All right. You know, spiritual unfoldment isn't about Jesus. He gave a technique how to go into it. And everything that they put in the Bible, 99% of it was twisted of what he said because they didn't even understand the word God. People, do you want truth or do you want more lies? I could give you lies, I could tell you stories, and I could become rich. But I'm not here to make money. I'm not here to become famous. While I'm here, I found my reason. I worked through all my lifetimes and got to the point where I need to be, and I could leave without the worrying of have to coming back here. Why would I want to? Oh, my family. Oh, I love cars. I love sports. I love sex. I love all these things. Enjoy it here because you don't need it. It'll slowly deteriorate as you unfold. If you unfold, you can deal with Satan, demons and everything else. But the truth is, the more you're attached to this world, the more you'll never unfold. The better you think this world is, the less you know about spirit. We're toxic people. We destroy everything. Oh, that's the wrong message. Atlanteans were actually gone through ascension, so they were completely protected in a lot of ways. But all things come to an end. All angels, the higher angels, were forced out of the higher realms because they screwed up. You know, it's conditioning, brainwashing. Like all these people that think aliens are here to help us. They're being programmed. Programs, you think something's better because you don't know. If you're not totally aware or you accept something, well, we can make them better. Bad seeds don't turn into beautiful seeds, ever. A person coming out of jail doesn't turn into an angel because he got out of jail saying, I'm a Christian or I'm a this, that, or the other thing. It doesn't happen like that, people. But people accept it. We can change them. We'll put them in school and teach them what? How to be human? That's a natural instinct of soul, whether it wants to or not. Nobody else can change that. Why stop smoking? For how long? Rapists don't stop. Murderers don't stop. People say they do this or that. The hate, the anger is always within them. And a person that's sexually abused is affected for the rest of their life as well, people. Do men understand that? No. This whole thing with Trump, is it really a good thing, bad thing? It's ridiculous because Trump said he's not going to go to court. He's going to sue her for what, $50,000, $150,000, who knows what. But all these things, men never accept or admit what they do. Maybe on their dying bed when they think they're going to confess and then go to heaven, people do to themselves. All right, people. Hope you got something out of today. Don't look for good aliens because there are none. There are none. All right. You could hear they'll help us. Well, you know, help is, if I could help you, I help you right now. Well, I'll help you in 100 years or 200 years from now when you're dead, buried, and gone. Really? When you can help the children stop and being murdered, being all these things, sold body parts, all those horrible things. Oh, we're here to help you? Help what? Some spiritual person become more spiritual? Once you attain spiritual realization, means God realization, you can't go any further here. Your body's not going to turn into a crystal light walking around on the planet. Even though, we're going to become 6-dimensional beings and all the baloney they're pushing out there and charging all this money to go to these workshops. I keep telling Deepak Chopra off every time I can. I get totally off. Well, he's got a new course for 5 months. 5 months to teach you what? What do you need to learn in 5 months? I'll give you a technique. You only need one technique to become spiritually aware. If you do it. and you work with it to make it work, and you keep changing things around it to make it work, and then eventually it will if you put your heart and soul into it. All right, people. Atlanteans were the most spiritual beings that ever lived on this planet. They had 32 psychic abilities. But good people can't kill bad people. Remember that. Peace, love, truth. Till next time.
The sky, the sky, the sky is falling. The sky, the sky, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. Raise my eyes to the wild blue yonder. I can't believe what I see, and it makes me wonder why it's falling down on me. The sky, the sky, the sky